Welcome, people, to our chat. We are here. We didn't really say what time we were coming on, so we're right on time for all you guys know. Yeah, Leroy's got maracas and toys for the baby. I don't know who's watching who, whether Owen's watching Leroy or Leroy's watching Owen. I don't know.
Where you go? What you want? You want this? No? You want the cord? You want the laptop? You see yourself?
Fantastic. What's going on, man?
Nothing much. Just doing a little
Being a
bedtime.
daddy.
Just
Oh, that's cute.
got one
Oh, he
down.
tired too.
Yeah, trying to get the other one down.
Nice.
One down, one to go.
So we'll kind of just do a little shitting and chatting here before we really get started into it. What you do today?
Uh, Sat in traffic. We went to Harbison and went to a couple of stores, and I drove around in the parking lot because traffic was too bad to get out of the
I've been
strip
there.
mall.
Sure.
Out of the strip mall, so I just drove around, and then oh hey, I need that. Hey, hey, where you going? Okay, you standing up? There you go. Uh, so so traffic. Then we went to a park,
Hmm.
and then we walked around and ran around. Then we went to a Mexican restaurant where we realized Owen is not ready for chips and salsa yet, even though he believes he's ready for chips and salsa.
I mean, babies
So
believe they're ready for anything.
yeah, and we and he had refried beans. Yeah, you see the pictures over there?
He was ready for the refried beans.
Oh yeah, he's had them before.
Okay,
I mean,
cool.
his diet is a little more adventurous than mine is. Like he eats sardines.
Ugh.
They're a very good source of protein. We found out.
I mean, I don't care. Still,
So yeah,
yeah.
he eats.
Friend of the show, even though she doesn't claim to be. Celeste used to love sardines. I don't know if she still does, but yeah, she used to eat sardines all the time. I remember that in the morning show.
Really?
Yeah. IMAX music felt like prepping for Sunday service. Hey, IMAX, whatever gets you in the mood, man. You know, to get you ready for our show. If you need
Guess
a
who's
little
going?
religion in your life, what?
Guess who's going to Sunday service tomorrow?
Oh, y'all?
No.
Oh, Owen. Oh, okay. I thought the whole family. No, just the baby. Okay.
Nope, just the babies. I'm gonna
Okay.
pull up at 11. Here you go.
Yeah.
Get some
And,
Jesus.
and speed off.
Yep.
Okay, great. Hope
Yep.
you can make donuts in the parking lot.
I asked my mom. I was like, "Hey, what y'all doing tomorrow at about 11?" They were like, "Why?" I got something to take care of. So, you going to church? You going to
Nice.
early service or late? Late? Okay, I'll meet you in the parking lot.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's that annual time, guys, when we talk about Oscar stuff. Who got snubbed? Who got whatever? For anybody who's been listening to our chat for these many years now, you know we kind of do an Oscar talk about once a year about
Yeah.
snubs and stuff. And as you've noticed, as we've talked about this more and more, the topic we always said was who got snubbed and our nerd stuff is nerd stuff being snubbed is it being recognized. And I think over the course of the many iterations that we've done this, we've kind of realized the world has come around. So I think
Has
Leroy and
it?
I kind of both decided. I think the world has, sure.
I don't think so, but I,
What do
I
you
think
need for the world to come around? I mean, it's
I
in mainstream stuff. It's you have mainstream reviewers talking about nerd stuff like USA Today, New York Times, all that
I
kind of stuff.
I think it's come to a certain extent to the begrudgingly, it's come around to where they've accepted this genre. But it's I feel like they tolerate us like they do the horror genre category. So when it comes to anything that's horror, sci-fi, superheroes, anything based on an IP that was like a video game or a comic book, I think they look at us but don't exactly, they tolerate you, they don't accept you. It's kind of like when you marry into a family
Uh huh.
and like and your in-laws tolerate you because you married into the family. They don't really love you. They just
I
tolerate
mean,
you because you gave them grandkids.
I
Now
mean,
that's not my
maybe, but
situation. I'm just
when you're when like the highest grossing movies of all time are like over $2 billion, and they're pretty much either sci-fi or superhero, that to me that's acceptance because
see. Here's the
that
thing.
money isn't just made by nerds.
Here's the thing. I
That
think
money isn't just made by that.
it's almost kind of like a sense of nouveau rich versus old money.
Hmm.
Just 'cause you got money doesn't mean you have class, and that's the thing that I think separates comic book and nerd stuff from the illiterati of the Academy Awards. Because here's the thing, we talked about this before. They still have not given stunt coordinators or stunts a category at the Oscars.
Sure.
And I think that's a disservice. And I think that's because A, they didn't think that much of these people who did the work because of the movies that those things were in, and because a push hasn't happened to make them care. Does that make sense? So it's one of those things where, like, Return of the King won Best Picture. How long ago was that?
Mm.
That's like at least 10 years, maybe even 20.
Hmm.
Um, I think they tolerate us, but I don't think they welcome us to the party willingly. I think they have to because they realize that the audience is changing and taste of change, and that the idea of you not recognizing movies that the rest of the world likes makes them look snooty.
I mean, sure, but I mean, they're still there.
I mean, yeah, I like because so, and I think what will change is when you have so like this year, Angela Bassett was nominated for her role as Best Supporting Actress in Wakanda Forever. Um, we would nobody was going to riot if she didn't make like if she didn't get that nomination. Like we know she deserved it,
Hmm.
but I don't think it would have been. Put it like this: would you have been shocked if she didn't get nominated?
No.
And that's why I said we haven't made it. When you would be shocked and be like, the fudge, like when Lupita Nyong'o didn't get nominated for Us, that to me was a slap in the face. But once again, it's a horror movie, and Toni Collette didn't get nominated for Hereditary, and a lot of people thought that was a snub too. So I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think we've. I think we've arrived. I don't think the Academy of Arts and Sciences recognizes that these stories are just as valid as a tar.
Hmm.
I still think that they look at these genre movies as being as we're at the kids table.
Hmm.
And I think once when some stuff knocks when Angela if Angela Bassett wins, I think that would be a monumental shift. I think if anybody wins for everything everywhere all at once, Michelle Yeoh's movie. Um,
Hmm.
I, I, you know what? I don't want to say Michelle Yeoh's movie. If she wins for either Best Actor, uh, Kiwi Kwan, I think he's the darling of the Oscars. I think Stephanie Sue winning. I think if they win Best Picture, I think that's an achievement because that's a movie that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, but Parasite didn't it win Best Picture?
It did, but that's a foreign film, and
I
it's
mean,
one of
it's
those.
also kind of like a horror thriller too.
See, I
I mean,
didn't
it's
see it
also
as
a
horror.
genre.
I see. I didn't see. I did. That's the thing. I didn't see it as that. I saw it as a
You may
classical
not
movie.
have, but I think it's classified
Really,
as a horror movie.
really. See, I
I'm a
didn't think
Google it
that.
right now. Let's see.
Google it. Google it.
Let's just see what happens. I'll type in Parasite.
Yeah.
See what we get. Parasite
I
2019
always looked at
film.
Parasite as a class movie, as a eat the rich
They
kind of
call it
type
a
movie.
thriller drama.
Yeah. Because the same thing with comedy. Comedy they tolerate. They don't. Comedy is not really recognized, and I'm not saying that to like poo poo in the Oscars. I just think it's one of those things where we haven't what like name what you would consider the one of the best comedy movies of all time,
Oh, I don't
or just
know.
name a great comedy movie, one that stood the test of time, even
I mean, I
even over
really
the
like
years.
Blazing Saddles.
I mean, that's a great movie. It still holds up. I think for me, Coming to America,
Sure.
neither one of those movies is ever going to sniff it. You see what I'm saying? Like, and
Yeah.
if anything like that came out now, the History of the World Part Two
I started
came out.
watching that. I'm enjoying that.
Thank Nick Kroll.
Yeah.
He's
Thank
the
you, Nick
the
Kroll. I'm
he's the
liking that.
genius behind that. I don't think that those would ever get the recognition they deserve.
Sure.
I Perfect example. Friend of the show, Anne can't stand. Uh, he just did You People, the white guy.
Jonah Hill.
Yes, she can't stand Jonah Hill. She's like, I hate all his movies. And I'm like, all
Okay.
of his movies? And I'm like, and she's an older person. She likes the pageantry, the Oscars and stuff like that. But she's one of the people who's like, I can't. And keep in mind, Jonah Hill's been in some of the quintessential comedy movies of the last 20 years. Say what you will, Super Bad, This Is the End. Great movies. I mean, he was in keep Jonah Hill was in The Wolf of Wall Street, Moneyball. He's done real work. You People wasn't the greatest, but the man has acted his ass off. War Pigs or War Dogs. War
I think it
Dogs.
was War Dogs. Yeah.
That was a great movie, based on a true story. Also,
Yeah, I like that. Who we got in the chat so far? At least people that have chatted. Ken from Chicago, IMAX, Kyler Jones. Hello
host.
so far, and anybody else ready to go? Oh, you mean us? Okay, sure. We'll say hey to us as well. Um, so yeah, we were talking about whether or not we've arrived or not, and that's debatable. Um, I think the thing we wanted to talk about is so I did bring up the categories
Mhm.
for Oscars, and if you want to, we could do a rundown of the people and think if people were snubbed or not. Just let me know if you want to do that or not.
That's up to you. I mean, I don't have it in front of me, and it would take me a while to get to that page, considering I have props and.
All right, I pulled it up for you. Okay, let's go
I appreciate
through,
it. Hey, hey.
and it's going to be interesting because I'm wondering how much of this stuff you've seen.
Now I'm behind this year. I really am. Um,
All right, we're not going to do every category because let's start
Kyler
with
Jones. Kyler Jones. I like Jonah Hill, but a lot of people have, for some of the stuff that he has done, and especially you people, there seems to be a backlash, and I don't understand it because I like Jonah Hill and I like a lot of the movies he's in. Um, so I don't know what that's about recently.
All right, so this is off of a Google spreadsheet, more or less. Best Supporting Actor. This is no particular order in terms of how I read these nominees. But Best Supporting Actor: Brendan Gleeson, The Banshees of Inisherin;
Yeah.
Brian Tyree Henry, Causeway;
Is that
Judd
best
Hirsch,
actor or best supporting?
Best Supporting Actor.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Judd Hirsch, The Fablemans; Barry
Mhm.
Keoghan, The Banshees of Inisherin;
Yeah.
and Kehu Kwan, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
So he's Quan is the popular choice.
Hmm.
However,
I've heard a
I,
lot of people talk about, and I liked him in this Barry Keoghan in The Banshees of Inisherin.
is it Keoghan or Keegan?
I don't know.
I think it's Keegan.
Okay, I'm gonna keep saying
Yeah.
Keoghan. Friend of
Okay.
the show. Tell me I'm wrong and come on and talk to us about it.
Uh, but
Barry K. I really liked him in that, but yeah, I mean, Everything Everywhere All at Once. It was a great movie. He was fantastic in it, and I think he did a great job in being that supporting actor. I think a lot of times, typically in previous movies of that ilk, the
Mhm.
male would probably be the lead superstar, and the female would have to play supporting role. And I think he did a good job in being that husband, trying to keep his wife on the same page as his daughter and just keep his family together. I thought he was great in it.
Okay.
Thoughts?
I
Yes, no.
So I haven't seen a lot of these movies. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm
Hmm.
How do I say this without sounding like a dick? I'm not interested in the Fablemans like everybody else is. So, like it's a movie. It's one of those movies about Hollywood, and Steven Spielberg does a very good job. It just doesn't interest me. So I haven't seen that. I haven't gotten to Banshees of Inisherin yet because I just haven't gotten around to it. Um, Brian Tyree Henry, I saw the trailer for the movie he's in.
Hmm.
I'm It's interesting that he's the only person I think from that film to get nominated. And that's
Hmm.
one of those performances you're like, you got to act your ass off to be the brother in that movie just
Hmm.
to get the nomination outside of the white woman who stars in the movie. So like that, bravo to him. I still think Kikoi Han is probably the favorite in this race, but I'm be honest with you, everybody you named, I could see Barry Keegan getting it because
Hmm.
I've heard as far as acting ability, he has done a very good job, and a lot of people think. Okay, go ahead. So I, to me, this is up in the air. I know who I would like to see get it. I want to see everything, everywhere, all at once. Sweep.
Hmm.
I want them to get everything, and that's just personally. One, I like the movie, and two, I love for an indie or an underdog to beat out these huge movies.
Sure.
I love the story behind this. I love everything about this movie. When you think about a multiverse movie, it came out the same time as Doctor Strange. And are we gonna be talking about Multiverse of Madness? No. Because it
Right.
was just okay. And that was
Hmm.
a $200 million movie, yet this movie was made off a budget of what, $16 million.
I don't
Jamie
know.
Lee Curtis has hot dog fingers in it. People turned into a rock. Somebody sat on a butt plug to whip somebody's ass. Like, this movie's amazing. Like, give it all the flowers it deserves.
All right, we'll move to Best Director: Martin McDonough, Banshees of Inisherin;
Hmm.
Todd Field, Tar; the Kwans, or not the Kwans, the Daniels,
Yes,
Everything
the
Everywhere All
Daniels.
at Once; Ruben Oostland, maybe, I don't know, Triangle of Sadness; and Steven Spielberg, The Fablemans.
I could see Spielberg running away with this. Everybody loves the Fablemans. It's
Sure.
I've seen a lot of the trades talking about how this was just amazing. I listened to NPR interview the director of Tar
Hmm.
and Kate Blanchett, and I really want to see this movie. Like it just I
What,
wanted to
Tar?
see it. Yeah, I
Yeah, it's
haven't
good.
seen it, and I hadn't
It
gotten
gets
around
weird
to it.
towards the end. It's good.
Oh yeah, I heard it's amazing, and the way they talked about the movie just
Hmm.
made me want to see it. So but I want the Daniels to win. So, but
Yeah,
I,
that is
I
one where it's interesting. Where I'm wondering, and I don't know what I would kick out, but I feel like, and I don't know who the director is, but the director who did The Woman King could have been there in there for Best Director.
now
But all
here's the
the other
funny
movies
thing.
I named are I think are very good.
We'll get to the controversy behind the Woman King when we get to Best Actress. Yep.
Okay, Best Supporting Actress: Angela Bassett, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever; Carrie Condon, The Banshees of Inisherin; Jamie Lee Curtis, Everything Everywhere All at Once; Stephanie Sue, probably maybe,
Yep. Stephanie
Everything
Sue.
Everywhere All at Once; and Hong Chow, The Whale.
Um, Personally, Angela Bassett. However,
Sure.
if she doesn't win, I'm willing to accept in this order Stephanie or Jamie Lee Curtis.
Hmm.
Other than that, it's rigged if none of those three get it. So that's
Okay, there we go. It's rigged.
it's rigged. Kim from Chicago's Tonight a Prediction Show. No, because honestly, we haven't seen all these movies, and um, I suck at predictions. So that's just me.
This is an all encompassing show where we're going to talk about possible snubs and other stuff related to
Yeah,
Oscars.
yeah,
We will spend more time on a second part of this topic once we get to it. But now we're just kind of
yeah. Michael had a
going through
really
the
good topic.
categories again.
Yeah, thank Michael for this topic that's about to come up.
I haven't seen any of these. Yeah, a lot of these movies, and it's interesting because in a post-pandemic world, now endemic, however you want to call it, it is. I think people getting to the movies is harder now, even though they are back open. People are still have a little trepidation about going back. So it's kind of hard to figure out how am I going to see all these movies because for the longest time I would always go to AMC's Best
Hmm.
Picture showcase that would show
Hmm.
everything, which is a great way to see everything. But the last 2 years, last year I'm pretty sure they didn't do it, and this year they may have, but I just missed whenever the date was for
Well, also it's
those
more
movies.
expensive. Like if you think about like going to a movie right now is expensive, and they're raising the prices of just seats alone. If you
Hmm.
go after 4 o'clock, if you don't go to a matinee, you go to a night showing and you sit in the middle, your ticket is more expensive if you sit closer on the outsides. So you've got that, you've got inflation, you've got, you know, like, like honestly, if you take someone to the movies as a first date and you ball out, y'all go together.
Yeah, you
Like,
probably spending $100 easily.
that's what, like, you like first date, like not dinner and a movie, just the movie alone. The
Yeah,
tickets themselves are probably going to cost you almost $30, depending
yeah.
on what city you're in. You're going to be spending $30 if you get popcorn and a soda. Depending on what size, you're out probably $60 if you spend. You go together. I'm sorry. There's no. Or was this a good date? So no, the two of you got to go at least three more dates
Hmm.
to make up for that first date of dinner and a movie because it's expensive.
All right, let's get to the one that probably has the most controversy. Best Actress: Angela Riseborough to Leslie.
Andrea, Andrea,
What did I say?
you said Angela.
Oh, whatever. Doesn't matter. Andrea Riseborough to Leslie.
Hmm.
Michelle Williams, The Fablemans. Kate Blanchett. Have you seen the honest trailer yet for this year's Oscars,
Yes. Hmm.
where they pronounce her name? Is great.
Yep.
For Tar, Ana de Armas for Blonde,
Yep.
Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yes. So who do you like for this?
I think Michelle Yeoh has a real good shot at winning it. I think she was
Yes.
fantastic in it. Um, Having said that, Kate Blanchett, man, that is an actress, right? She is great. She is great in Tar. She has a killer performance. I did not see Ana de Armas in Blonde. I do think she's great in everything else that she does, so
Hmm.
I won't knock her for it. And I haven't seen Fablemans. And then to Leslie, maybe like 20 people saw that, so who knows what she did.
Ouch.
Just
So
saying.
here's the funny thing about this. I too want Michelle Yeoh to win, and again, these are biased and everything. All of this is subjective. So whoever wins, congratulations. I hope everything works out for you in the end, especially the women, because we know how a lot of times for an Oscar, for a man, it elevates their career. For some women, it doesn't. Um, just ask Monique. I mean, don't get me wrong. There were some insinuating circumstances behind that,
Yeah,
but
like yeah, Monique also didn't help her case either. That's
Monique went Monique.
yeah.
It's like I don't know what y'all expected her to act like, but that's how she acts. Um, but there is some controversy. If you go to Dan Murrell's page or YouTube page, he does a very good breakdown of the controversy surrounding the Best Actress category, with Andrea Riseborough getting a nomination over some other people. Um, the Oscars did an investigation because they believe Andrea Riseborough's. Some people credited Andrea Riseborough's nomination to a targeted campaign that broke and violated the Oscars rules. Hey, hey, hey. So, so he did a breakdown of when the movie came out, how many people watched it, what was the buzz around the movie, you know, and he did a very good job. I quibble with one part of it. Um, so a lot of people complained that Andrea Riseborough did not deserve the Oscar nomination. And I haven't seen the movie. I know the movie. Mark Maron is in it, and that piqued my interest because I love Andrea Riseborough. Um, I loved her ever since she came on the scene. That I saw her in Oblivion. She was great in Oblivion. She was great in it was a movie with Eric Bana, I want to say. I think I'm trying to remember, but she was also in Mandy. She played Mandy and Mandy with Nicolas Cage. So she's done some stuff. Like you said, Kate Blanchett is the actor's actor. Angela Riseborough is one of those women. She is a working actress. Hey, hey. So the targeted campaign didn't necessarily break any rules except for one, and
Hmm.
this is the one everybody is complaining about. One of the people made a post. I know. I know. We're getting to it. We're getting to it. Do you have a problem with the nomination?
You really thinking
so
about it?
he is. So one of the people made a post and said, sent an email, or basically made a statement that says, because they do ranked choice voting for the Oscars. The idea is you vote, if this person doesn't win, then I would like this person or this person, and then they tallied those votes, and that's how they ended up with the person who's nominated. Someone made the comment that the woman who plays Emmett Till's mom in Till, and Viola Davis and Woman King was a lock, and that they should vote for Andrea Riseborough, and that was against the Oscars rules. You cannot campaign for someone by telling people to vote against someone else. And a lot of people felt like, here you have two black women who probably would have been nominated if it hadn't been for the campaign that got Andrea Riseborough her nomination. Dan Murrow does a very good job of explaining that the campaign that they used circumvented the rules because they didn't have the money that big budget movie companies are able to use to nominate a movie or to
Hmm.
get their movie in front of the Academy. So, me and Michael off camera, to give you a little behind the scenes, we talked about this. And here's something that Dan Murrow reported. In order to get an email sent to an Academy member through the Oscars, one email. So let's say you're Miramax, you're MGM, and you want to send emails to the entire uh,
Voting
list of
body.
people, voting bodies. It's $2,000 per email. So your email go be long because you got to fit everything in it, because that's 2 grand for an email.
Hmm.
If you want to host your movie on the Oscars website, thank you for your consideration. It's 20 grand to put your movie on the site so that they can screen it, so that they can see your movie. So a lot of these companies don't have that kind of money. So what the director and director's wife did was they asked their friends for help. They either sent an email to their friends and said, "Hey, can you look at this movie and do a post about it?" So you saw some posts that were basically the same post because they watched it and they copied and pasted the post. So they held like a dinner at their house for 30 people to come over and screen the movie and then meet Andrea Riseborough because they didn't have a lot of money. Now the woman who's the director, his wife, I want man, I had the name right there, and Owen just made me forget it. She's an actress, um, and she has connections and friends through working throughout the years. It's somebody we all know, and I'm trying to remember what her name is. I know, buddy. I'm looking it up. It worked. She got nominated. Now, keep in mind, she didn't just get nominated because she had friends. She got nominated because people liked her performance. Kate Blanchett, who is up for an Oscar, also wanted people, encouraged people to vote for Andrea Riseborough, knowing that if she's nominated along with her, this bitch could win. So it wasn't a situation of she wasn't good enough. If someone who is nominated is like, yeah, she should be up here with us, is saying it, then there's some clout behind that.
Mary McCormick.
Thank you, Mary McCormick. So through her career, she's met various people. Um, I know one of the people that stood out to me is he was in Glass Onion. He was a bad guy. Um,
Edward
he was the
Norton.
incredible. Yes, thank you. He made a very passionate plea to about this movie, um, and people respect Edward Norton even though they can't stand working with him sometimes. Um, but he made a very passionate plea for the movie as well. The one quibble I would have with Dan Murrow is the fact that he was like, "Why is the Academy has only recognized one black woman for Best Actress in its history?" And he's like, Andrea Riseborough should not be, it should not be held against her for the Academy's mistakes that her nomination might have bumped a woman of color who didn't get nominated. And I understand where he's coming from. I do. I say, if you are a person of color who sees this, you're like, so you're telling me not only do we have to navigate, hey, not only do we have to navigate these big blockbuster campaigns to, wow, we'll see. They got to pay first. um, so to give you an update for those of you who watched last week, remember when I told you Katie was making me sell my stuff and making me sell it for pennies on the dollar? We had a nice huge bid. That money has to come through though. It has to come through.
Has to
Um,
come through.
it has to come
No,
through.
that's the winning bid.
Oh, it won that?
Yeah.
Let's see.
It just like while I was in the showers,
Okay.
they bid it up for
Hey, let's see.
the last
Okay.
5 minutes.
So I will say this. I understand where he's coming from, but if I am a person of color, I say I have to navigate not only these huge movie studios who are paying $2,000 for an email address, $20,000 to stream the movie on the website, and countless other things that you have to do to get your movie out there. And I'm good enough. I'm in a movie, or Woman King, or Till. I'm in a movie that's recognized. People think that I deserve. And here comes another situation where someone has the contacts and manipulates the system to get nominated. I'd be pissed too. And I understand that side of it. And every year we have a controversy with the Oscars, whether it's Oscars so white, where are the women directors? I understand all of that. Whoa, whoa, hey, yeah. They gotta pay, man. We need that money. They gotta pay. I know. So that's where I stand when it comes to the best actress. And he pointed out another thing. Michelle Yeoh, when you talk about like impropriety in the Oscars, Michelle Yeoh and the president of the Oscars, the Academy of Arts and Sciences, are good friends. She made a post about Michelle Yeoh saying, hey, maybe you guys should go check this movie out, which looks like a tacit endorsement of the movie. The movie Babylon, when it was looking like it could be an Oscar favorite, was screened by the Academy, which looked like it was endorsing the movie. So the Academy has problems outside of this nomination that need to be addressed. When they wrote these rules, they wrote it in response to Harvey Weinstein, how he manipulated the system, was able to get his movies nominated. And there have been people, and there have been nominations taken away from people because they found that they have broken the rules. I don't know. I know that art is subjective. We argue about this stuff all the time. I mean, people argue about sports statistics, and those are like hard data. I don't know where this ends. I do know that there needs to be a better system of recognizing and keeping in mind that it's hard to watch everything. So maybe they need to revamp how they have this system to incorporate people and women of color, LGBT communities, and films that are overlooked in general.
Sure. I
So
want to bring up Tyler Jones's comment. I would actually care about the Oscars if all movie genres were recognized more. What do y'all think? Yeah,
I
I
agree.
think that kind of goes back to what Leroy's saying. That there's so many movies made. How do you what system do you put in place to put all movies available, all different genres of movies available, and how do you make them available for people to watch? It's hard. But
It
yeah, if
is.
they could include more genres, I definitely think more people would care about it for sure.
And I said this before. Lupita not being nominated for Us, Tony Collette not being nominated for Hereditary. Those are things that people watched and cared about and enjoyed. Um, hey, I know. So yeah, it would be nice to see other genres other than, I think somebody said, when you think of, and I think it's Kim from Chicago, when you say Oscar movie, no one thinks of Fun Time, and that's true. When you think of Oscar movie, you think of The Piano. You think of The Reader. You like, yeah, these are interesting stories. You don't think of anything fun. When was the last movie that was fun that won Best
Hmm.
Picture? Like,
I don't
don't get
know.
me wrong. I think having these movies that makes you re-examine your place in society or other people who and how the world affects them is a it's noble. The art itself is good to recognize. But sometimes, and I'm glad, sometimes let's nominate something that's fun. Top Gun was fun.
It got nominated.
It got that's what I'm saying. Like, come on, Top Gun was
I
one of
mean,
the
you could
best.
argue this year there are a lot of fun movies are nominated.
Yep. And I think that will go a long way to help and not just make a popular choice award,
It
like
will.
people's choice.
Um, I
And if
don't care
more
about
people get
Best
slapped.
Actor. Wow. Okay, let's go do this last one on nominees. Best Picture: Top Gun: Maverick, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Triangle of Sadness, All Quiet
The,
on the Western Front.
the name of the movie is Triangle of Sadness.
Yeah.
Does that not
El-
prove Kip Checo point?
Elvis, Women Talking, The
Yeah.
Banshees of Inisherin, The Fablemans, Avatar: The Way of Water, and Tar. So I
So
would argue
here's
three of those are I
mhm.
would consider fun.
Women Talking is streaming on Amazon Prime right now. So if you want to go watch it for a limited time, it's up
Yeah.
there. I think it's free. I do want to watch it, although it's going to be on a day where I'm like, oh, I know what I'm getting into
Hmm.
because you know what it's about.
Yeah. So I
So
mean, 10 nominees, three of those I would consider fun. So I mean, I don't know if they're making headway, but definitely this year does signal like, okay, these are fun movies. You might, I mean, I think three of those you could definitely consider popcorn type flicks, whatever you want to call them. But those are definitely maybe a little bit lighter fare, which is nice. Now, to be fair, Everything Everywhere All at Once is some heady sci-fi stuff, but it's
yes,
still fun.
yes, and it was one of those movies where I wouldn't have been shocked if it didn't get nominated because
Hmm.
it's one of those movies you're like, oh, this is a great film, and but this is where people have problems with the Oscars or the Academy Awards. You could honestly see that movie not getting its props,
Hmm.
and when you say that means there's a problem. So with all of these lists that we've just gone through, what do you think should have been nominated that you think did not get noticed? Because honestly, this is the first time I think you've watched more movies than I have.
There's nothing that I was like, oh man, this should have been something. I'm happy with this. I definitely think Woman King probably could have gotten some love somewhere. I think that was a fun movie. Um, Not fun, good movie. Sorry, I think that was a entertaining movie and a good movie. So I definitely could have saw something for lead actress, maybe directing,
Black women
maybe
kicking ass
even
and taking names. That's fun for some people.
in costume design, something like that. But I'm not really like nothing really stuck out with me. I guess that's the one thing that stuck out with me is probably Woman King. Other than that, I'm good.
Going back to like for me, I haven't finished All Quiet on the Western Front. Some people are like, that's a horror movie, and I can
Yeah.
understand where they're coming from. It's a foreign movie. It's a anti-war movie, even though it's about war. Um, I can understand where people's trepidation with that one is. But going back to the best actress category, there is some talk that Michelle Williams should have been nominated in best supporting actress, which would have allowed for another actress to be nominated. But then people were like, well, then what would you have taken out from best supporting actress for her to get nominated?
Hmm.
And then two, a lot of people felt Ana de Armas's nomination for Blonde was a little weird, not suspicious, but interesting considering all the controversy behind that movie, considering how they felt it was very misogynistic and the lens that it was told about Marilyn Monroe. They thought it was
Hmm.
very interesting that she was nominated out of that film. So that's just someone said. I think is that Renee? Movies being an art is subjective. A form of art is subjective. There will always be problems judging it, and I agree. You're always it is subjective of what is good but here's another thing too. Just because you like something doesn't mean it is good, and I think that's something too we have to understand. I like the
Sure.
movie Ambulance. That doesn't mean it's a good movie.
Hmm.
I love Six Underground. That doesn't mean it's a good movie. It's
That just means you're a
entertaining.
bad person. Yeah.
If you were here, this baby wouldn't go to sleep.
That's why I'm not here. I can say whatever I want.
Come on, buddy. So yeah, so I think that's something else that we need to understand. And but the Oscars have gotten it wrong. The year that they supposedly nominated and Crash won Best Picture, the director of Crash said it shouldn't have won over Brokeback Mountain. He was like, that movie wasn't better than Brokeback Mountain.
Hmm.
I still think Shakespeare in Love stole an Oscar from Saving Private Ryan, and I'll go to my grave saying that.
Sure.
So, but with that being said, I'll watch the Oscars off and on tomorrow night um, while I'm doing something else. I don't know.
I was
I
about
would
to say,
like.
is it going to be on the same time as the season finale of Last of Us?
That's what I was about to say. I would like to see the ratings behind The Last of Us versus the Oscars because they moved the Super Bowl. I mean, they moved it from the Super Bowl, but
Well,
they
I mean,
didn't move it.
Last of Us ain't gonna beat Super Bowl.
Hold on, let me finish. They moved it for the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
They didn't move it for the Oscars.
yeah,
So that says to me, HBO was like, we got you.
yeah, sure. That would be
So
interesting to see which one fares better. All right, so we got the nominees out of the way, the normal stuff we do. So Leroy and I were talking about what can we do to do this topic differently for Oscar stuff, and we were trying to figure out what we could bring up. And we were just talking, and I said, what if we talked about games that have, and I don't know how I worded it. I think it was like games that you would consider could be up for Oscars if they were turned into movies, something like that, something to that effect.
yeah,
Essentially,
if
games with stories that are good enough could be Oscar
yes,
material, something like that.
what story, if it was a movie, is good enough that would get the Academy's attention? And again, here's where I wonder we the problem isn't just getting the Oscars attention or the Academy's attention. It's got to be good.
Right.
And we've only had, let's think about video games turned into movies or television shows. Let's be honest, there hasn't been that many good ones.
Oh, for sure.
So to get it to the not to get it to the table of a nomination. And I'm gonna be honest with you, y'all are not gonna like some of my suggestions because I'm telling you right now, Renee, nope, Mass Effect is not gonna be the one. I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't ever see that being made into a movie because of the money that's behind it, the special effects that would have to happen, and how do you adapt that story? I think Mass Effect would make a great TV show, a la
Hmm.
Battlestar Galactica, uh,
Expanse.
Deep Expanse, Deep Space Nine, Babylon 5. I think it would fit in that category. I think as a movie, you're going to get Doom. Because if you try to fit all of that into a movie, you're going to get Doom. It's just too heavy.
The first Mass Effect.
I think any Mass Effect.
Hmm. I think the first Mass Effect could work as a movie.
I, I don't think it could work as a movie. I think it's too because I think the 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 meat of Mass Effect is the interpersonal relationships between the aliens and the humans, and after the war, I think you're spending huge amounts of time to make that believable. The tension, and I don't think you can get away with that in a movie.
Renee says, "Hey, Mass Effect, we spend the fantasy money, so we can do whatever we want."
That is true. I mean, if I had billions of dollars,
And
but
it's
I tell you
hypothetical.
what,
You can do whatever you want.
I still wouldn't do Mass Effect. I still
Hmm.
wouldn't. Um,
Herbert Thornton, Brock Warren, nice to see you all. Renee as well. Saw you jump in here. Welcome to the chat.
so, Michael, it's your topic that you came up with it. What's one of the what's a story that you think that would make a good movie that would garners the Academy's attention?
Somebody said it already, and I don't know if it's cheating, but I think Red Dead Redemption 2. I think the fact that it could be a period piece as a western. It's
Mhm.
been a minute since we've had a big blockbuster western. Remember that used to be the thing. All the rage was a western, right?
Yep.
And then that kind of went away, and then we got a few every once in a while. But it's been a
Mhm.
minute since we've had a western. I think Rockstar, the same in the same vein as Naughty Dog. I think that they think of their video games as video games, but also, hey, these have the potential to be huge blockbusters in terms of set presentation and how this is presented. This could be almost like a movie. That's why. Side note, but I think it's interesting. Whenever I'm watching The Last of Us TV shows, like man, The Last of Us, the first game really did a good job of setting this stuff up to be a movie because a lot of stuff looks like, oh, this is how I know it doesn't look like that when I played it, but in my mind I'm replaying the level, or sorry, replaying the let's play of somebody replaying the level as they do different things throughout the show. And I think Red Dead Redemption 2 is set up in that same way, where there's just such high production values. I think I think because the company cares so much about the series or about the product that they would want to put their best foot forward and not let just anybody handle it, but they would get like the right people in place to make this a movie. And I think it does hit one of those genre things of being a western. Um, we're talking about the the Hollywood elite, but I think they like that idea of as much as they don't like certain genres, they did love westerns at one point.
Oh
So
yeah.
those people that are still alive, like, oh, a western. Let's see what this is.
Just ask
What was the
Clint
last
Eastwood.
big?
You're
Yeah,
Unforgiven.
what was the last big Oscar type western? Was it True Grit?
Unforgiven. True, yeah, True Grit. True Grit was more
Like the
recent than
the remake True
Unforgiven.
Grit
Yeah, because that's where
with
where
Haley
Haley Steinfeld,
Steinfeld and
Rooster Cogburn,
yeah, who was that though? Was it
Sam.
the
No, it
Big
was
Lebowski man?
yeah, Jeff Bridges. Jeff
Yes, Jeff
Bridges.
Bridges. There we go. Yeah,
Yeah, I think you're right. True Grit was. I always think of when I think of westerns that just took the Academy by storm. I always think of Unforgiven,
sure.
because when you look at the three your main actors in that, Gene Hackman, Clint Eastwood, and always been old.
Morgan Freeman? Who
Morgan
always been
Freeman.
old?
Yeah, you know who I talk about. One Negro was old when he was 17, probably looked 47. Um,
Wow,
have you seen him at 17?
I haven't.
That's why. Because you
That
probably
footage
saw a
doesn't
picture.
exist.
You probably saw him at 17 and was like, man, he looked old in Driving Miss Daisy.
That
Um,
footage doesn't exist. He scrubbed the internet of it.
but yeah, it's interesting that you went period piece
Hmm.
and you went that way because that's kind of where I'm going.
Okay.
Um, I think I think Ghost of Tsushima I think would make a great movie.
Hey, that might be a litmus test. They're working on that, right?
Yes, so I think if you go back to what is it, Ron, Akira Kurosawa, and some of his big movies, that's kind of what I think of Ghost of Tsushima. Don't get me wrong, I love The Last Samurai, but I think if you take the budget and direct it that same way, and take out Tom Cruise and
Hmm.
and actually make it more about the island and this man's journey, and I think Ghosts could get the attention if done right.
Chad Stahelski's gonna try.
I mean, I don't know if he can do it.
They've given him the green light to at least try. So who knows?
So for me, I Ghost of Tsushima is my pick. Um,
I always wonder whenever, and I don't even know how you would do this, but the idea of when you hear one director gets a movie, you're like, oh, this would be cool, but you wonder what another director would do with it.
oh yeah, I do that
And
all the time.
but I mean, I wish like we lived in a world where that could actually happen, and a movie theater would produce the same movie but from two different directors, and
I
they follow
mean,
their own visions. And I know that's so expensive and just like
but
problematic to make that happen, but I think that would be a cool idea.
we've gotten that before. Um, Deep Impact, Armageddon, Volcano, Dante's Peak. Uh,
Kinda.
but I mean, think about it. Every
I mean, if
year,
that's the case, you're talking about when the two Hercules movies came out in the same year.
I guess you kind of get
I
that.
guess so.
That's as close as you're going to get in this timeline. Now
You're
you
right.
have to hop into another timeline to get those movies, kind of like Everything Everywhere All at Once, or
Right.
when Interdimensional Cable for Rick and Morty, or
Hmm.
Go Back in Time and the DeLorean. I mean, you can do those. That's the only way you go see that. But you better hold on to Deep Impact and Armageddon
Yeah.
because that's the
Yeah.
only way you will get them to. But remember, we used to get that all the time. What was the other? Core and the other underground movie that came out. There was like,
Oh,
yeah, this. So it's interesting. I've always thought that this is surprising that they haven't made this movie yet, and I don't think it would gather the Oscars' attention. But I'm always shocked that they haven't made it yet
I feel
when
like
it's
there's been
so
rumors
easy.
about a Call of Duty movie, but
Yeah,
I guess the issue is because that's a genre that just that doesn't in terms of movie that doesn't. I mean, war movies come out once every 2 3 years probably, so I
and
feel
my
like
thing is,
that one doesn't go away.
and my thing is, it's like they already are mini movies. Like
Hmm.
when you talk about, and we got to give credit to, in my opinion, Kojima, because I think Kojima really did push the envelope to make the cutscenes feel like movies in the beginning. I'm not saying he's the first to do it. I'm saying he's the one who did it the best. That everybody was like, "Huh, write that down. We're doing that." I think Kojima is one of those people who really put his stamp on it that made people say, "Oh, so it doesn't have to just pander to the lowest common denominator. You can't put." And if you go back and remember the first time you played Call of Duty Modern Warfare, because mostly they were World War II games, and you remember that first time playing it, you were like, "Oh, this is not my this is not those games."
Sure.
Um, so I'm shocked that no one has done it. And if you did do it, I don't know if you could gather the Academy's attention. But if you treated Call of Duty Modern Warfare like you did Black Hawk Down,
Hmm.
if you like, they're probably going to go Tears of the Sun with it.
Here's
And
the
and
thing
I,
with Call of Duty.
uh-huh.
I always feel like, and I mean, cut you off, but I just want to get to that real quick. I always feel like with the Call of Duty stories, I think they're fun, but I never feel like the stories hit the dramatic weight that the Oscars would want. You know what I mean?
True, and I
I
think,
always feel like they're kind of like more fun, and I don't know. Like, could a movie come out? Sure, but I wonder, like you said, if the Oscars would pay attention to it.
and see, that's why I said it. If that's why I said they're probably going to go more Tears of the Sun with it. It's going to be
Hmm.
dramatic. It's going to be. It's not going to pull at your heartstrings like a Saving Private Ryan or a Black Hawk Down. Because remember, Black Hawk Down was nominated for some stuff. And if you go back and look at that cast for Black Hawk Down, you're like, holy shit, this is a stacked cast.
Hmm.
Um, like that cast, when you look at who wasn't used and like who was just not an extra, but wasn't front and center, go look at the names in Black Hawk Down, and you're like, how in the hell did this not get nominated for more stuff? Um, I think the gravitas, if they did a good job with it, I think it could get looked at as far as story wise. If you look at how, if you look at and turn it on its head, the idea of we are the bad men who do bad things to keep you safe.
Hmm.
But what toll does it take on these men to do these things? And I think if you can get to that part, kind of like a Hurt Locker,
Hmm.
like when you see, yeah, he went back. He didn't have to go back. He went back. Same thing. A lot of people don't think about this when they talk about Black Hawk Down, and they always ask, how do these people do it? And Eric Bana at the end of the movie, it's a great movie. It's a great book, but at the end of the movie, Eric Bana stops someone who's about to go back out there, and he's like, "Hey, man, you ain't got to go." And they were like, "Why are you go? Why are you going?" He's like, "Hey, man, I do it for that man next to me. It ain't for everybody." And he gets right back on out. Eric Bennett gets on back out there, gets on a Humvee or chopper, and they go back out there to go do the job. And it's like that speech Eric Bennett gives is that thing that I'm wondering if you could do it in a Call of Duty movie, if you could get that, it to me, I think it could be taken seriously. That whole idea of in Saving Private Ryan, when you saw, uh, also rest in peace, Tom Sizemore. Tom Sizemore passed
Mm. Yeah.
recently. He was in Saving Private Ryan. Go look at the cast of Saving Private Ryan. Holy shit! Vin Diesel was in that movie. Like you, how? Um, But if you think about the people who died in that movie, the weight of that movie, the fact that veterans were watching that movie and it's not real, and they're like having PTSD, they're like dealing with their emotions and their feelings behind it. A film does that. That's art.
Hmm.
I think if Call of Duty could do that, I think that could gather the Academy's attention. I think it's possible.
Uh, two things with the Call of Duty thing, and then I want to hit on two comments too. We talked about like the money needed behind a Oscar campaign. I feel like if a Call of Duty movie was made, a company like Activision, whether they were bought by Microsoft or not, could have the money to help produce that.
Yep.
So they would
Yep.
definitely be able to give that money
Hmm.
and give it that clout, even if some people were considered a lesser movie, it would at least be seen by enough people to be in that
Hmm.
consideration. And then Renee says, "I love Call of Duty, but honestly, Tom Cruise calls them Mission Impossible," which is interesting way to put that in terms of just being action, spectacular blockfest or whatever.
I would disagree. I think what Tom Cruise does is GI Joe. Tom Cruise
Interesting.
Mission Impossible is basically GI Joe. You pick a code name,
Hmm.
like, and they do the job that GI Joe has been doing every episode back in the '80s. This is
Hmm.
saving the world from Cobra. Tom Cruise is goddamn Duke or Flint. You pick your white dude from GI Joe. He's one of those two dudes leading a ragtag group of people against their own administration at times, trying to stop Cobra. You can pick whatever name you want. What was the name of Harris's Sean Harris's group? Whatever it is, it's Cobra. It's always
Hmm.
Cobra. He is defeating Cobra at every turn. Um, and
I want
and
to
I
get
think
another comment in. Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I'm trying to figure out which one it was. Let's see. It was Kyler Jones. I think it was about Call of Duty, or not Call of Duty. It was, yeah. Kyler Jones says, "I don't have PlayStation. Would Horizon be a good one, or more TV show?" And I think Horizon would be a TV show
The problem with
because there's
Horizon
so much
is
going on. And I feel like, go ahead.
you need the money behind that because in order to make those animals come to life, those creations come to life,
Sure.
man, that budget,
Hmm.
like you almost need Disney money.
Yeah.
You need Disney or Apple Plus money because I don't trust HBO Max because HBO Max will kill a show in midway through it.
Yeah.
HBO
Indeed.
Max will double tap you while you're on while the show is on. I could literally see David Zaslav walking out in the middle of House of Dragons and being like, "Cut, cut, cut, cut." Excuse me.
Hmm.
Um, this shit is over. All right, carry on. He seems like that
Um,
ruthless kind of guy.
I want to point out a game that I think is interesting.
Mhm.
Have you played the game Firewatch?
I've heard about it. I've not played it.
So, are you familiar with the relatively, I don't know, within the last 10 years or so genre of walking sims?
Yes.
They're kind of like games that don't necessarily have a lot of action, but they're more just kind of you walk through and look at your environment and you get like story told through that. That's
Hmm.
essentially what Firewatch is, where are you a counselor? No, I think you work at a, like a, maybe like a fire ranger or fire rescue ranger or something,
Hmm.
and you're kind of just walking through this park, and then it's you and one other person on a radio dispatch, and it's just a story told between the two people. And even though it isn't very action focused, like the way the characters or the voice actors emote the lines, it's a very well done story. I think that could be something that could be not a big budget blockbuster, but I think it's a small. I think it would fit the term of like an indie darling, where people are like, oh, this is something that filmed was screened at Cannes or Cons or
Yeah.
whatever, and it
Hmm.
got a lot of buzz. Or you know, I feel like that's the kind of movie that would do something like that, where it's a smaller, low budget movie, but it's kind of one of those movies with they talk about those character study movies where it's just like maybe one person, and it's not the same mode. But when I think of like the one with Tom Hardy where he was in the car driving, whatever that
Oh,
was.
I know exactly what you're talking about. That was a great movie too.
But I feel like it's something like that. It's like maybe it's just a movie with just one person and somebody on the radio, and it's just watching them do whatever. That so I would say Firewatch could be something that could be interesting as a possible
Um,
Oscar type movie.
I think another one would be, and this is a more recent one, and I hate that I'm picking more recent movies, but so be it. Um, a Plague's Tale, I think, would make a good movie if
I've never
you
played those, but I've heard the stories are great.
Locke. That's what it's called.
Lock.
If
Okay.
you haven't seen Locke, go watch it. It's like an hour and some change. It's not very long, and it's Tom Hardy driving. He's on the phone in a very nice car, I might add, and his world is fucking imploding. And I am shocked that movie has not gotten more recognition for Tom. Like Tom Hardy can act. When I think of how Tom Hardy showed up, a lot of people noticed him and took he Inception. You got to
Mhm.
dream a little bigger, darling. But go back and watch Warrior with him and Joel Egerton. Um, yeah, he is finally. Um,
Mhm.
but Locke, mwah, he was amazing in that. But back to A Plague's Tale. I think that is. I think the dynamic between the sister and brother.
Mhm.
I think the idea, the supernatural can be done and muted a little bit to get that idea of um, this bond that they have. And basically, it's not a bit. You don't do a lot of fighting in the game. You don't do like you. It's you navigating and hiding a lot of times. And I think the atmosphere, the period piece, the the supernatural element is secondary to the relationship these two people have. And I think if you can get what you portray in those games on screen, kind of
Mhm.
like you have in The Last of Us between Joel and Ellie, I think that would be I think that would be an amazing film. Back to Locke, and I'm so glad you brought this up because I like here's the cast: Tom Hardy, Olivia Colman, Ruth Wilson, and Tom Holland. Done. Go out and
Mhm.
watch this movie. Like, like seriously, how have you not seen this? Like, I cannot tell more people to watch Locke. It is fucking amazing. So yeah. Um,
I got one more just
okay.
because we're hitting our mark time wise. Um, we could do this, and if you guys like this idea, let us know. We could further expound upon it. But just for tonight, I got one more. Trying to figure out which one I want to say.
Renee, you brought up a good point
What did Renee say?
because The Last of Us, the brilliance of The Last of Us was, and I want to make sure it was Renee. Yeah, Renee, that was the brilliance of The Last of Us TV show. Mute the zombies and feed the relationship. If you go back and watch the last episode, there was not a zombie in there. Even
Hmm.
though in the game at that part where Ellie and David are together, if you remember that part in the game, Ellie and David are in that house and they're set upon by a horde, as Days Gone has called them, but a pack of zombies, and they have to defend the house until uh, Buddy Boy shows back up with the medicine. Um, so here's The Last of Us, a game built on the whole idea that this is the end of the world. Zombies have taken over, and one of the pivotal episodes before the season finale is absent zombies. And the worst thing in that episode is your fellow man.
Hmm.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna go with Bioshock.
I disagree.
Okay,
But go
why do you
ahead.
disagree?
Explain why you think it is, and I'm gonna tell you why I disagree.
No, you go first.
I think Bioshock would make a great series because I would love to see the nuance of how Bioshock came to be and showed that relationship, then time jump to the fall, to after the fall, and then bring in your protagonist who has to make his way through this biodome and with no understanding of what happened before. Like we know what happened before, but he doesn't know what happened before. I would love that as a series. I think
Well,
it
see,
might be. That's why
I
I
think
think it
with
may
that
be
though,
too heady. Go ahead.
Well, to me, I feel like the issue with that is, well, not even an issue, but for me, it's like, well, if that's the case, then it's no longer the Bioshock script because you're like almost doing a prequel. Because when you think of the game, you didn't know what
True.
happened to Rapture. So
So
that's
you
in
would,
my mind. Like I get what you're saying, but for me, I'm
so
just like
you don't even want to do the beginning. You just want to start exactly at him. He wakes up. He's
he's
here.
in the chaos. You're
Okay.
like, what happened to this place? And he's
Okay.
slowly learning stuff. And for me, I I almost think of this, and I don't want to spoil it, even though the game came out in like 2007 or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a pretty big twist into it, and it's kind of
Yes.
meta depending on how much you play video games or not. And I'm wondering how who the right director would be to like translate that twist movie wise. I don't even know if that would work because what you do in video games and how you consume them isn't the same way you consume a movie, so it may not work. I don't know, but
I
I just
think it
think that
could,
would be a maybe well it could.
and I have a
And I
name for
think
you.
I mean I would say Shyamalan just because he does twists,
I would say
but
Shyamalan.
okay. Um, but I just like the idea of in my mind I just picture this very you got all the money in the world, so you got these immaculate sets, you got this distressed world, this world that once was, and just the idea of your protagonist going through and being like, man, what happened to this world? What am I doing? Who am I trying to save? And just that ending
Okay.
at the end, how that works. So that's why I think it would be an interesting movie, and I think it could
I,
work as a Oscar type movie because of the decadence of the lifestyle.
now that you put it like that, I agree with you. I still like my idea, but
Sure,
maybe
I
for a
almost
different movie. But
I,
now that you've sold me on your idea, and I have two directors for you. You
okay,
tell me which one you would like
okay,
because they know how to build that world, and both of them know how to do twists.
okay.
One, Denny Denny Villeneuve.
Mm-hmm.
I probably butchered that name. I
Denny
apologize.
V,
I,
yeah, friend of the show,
Denny
Denny
V,
V.
friend of the show, Denny V. I say Dune because he can build a world. So he can already build the world that you need. I
Mm-hmm.
think he can do twist and shock because he's already given you one in Prisoners. I
Okay,
think I think he can give you that, and I think he can deliver the action scenes because I believe that uh, go back to I think he can build the world and action scenes Blade Runner
mm-hmm.
2042, 2048. So I'm going to go Denny is one. Now you think about that one, and
Mm-hmm.
here's the other one. And it's controversial for you only because the name that I'm about to say. Do you know who it is?
No,
Nolan.
so I'm not going to be able to hear anything in the movie.
I think Nolan, here's why I go Nolan. I think Nolan can build a set that's believable,
Mm-hmm.
that you would immerse you in that world where very few could. I'm thinking Inception. Uh, I'm thinking Tenet. I'm thinking uh, the the Batman trilogy. I think he can produce a world that you're like, oh wow, okay. I think he could take you to Rapture. I think he can do twist and character development because how did he get his start?
Was that Memento? Not Memento. Is
Yep,
it Memento? Yeah.
yep. If your first one was the following,
Mm-hmm.
and then Memento, and then remember the Prestige and Inception.
Mm-hmm.
I think those two men, and the only reason I say those two men is because those are the first two people come to mind. I'm quite sure there's a female director out there that I'm forgetting that I don't know about that probably could do it.
Sure.
Maybe but those two would be the men that I would select to spearhead this because I think that they could take all of those themes, condense it to a movie and a 2.5 hour movie, do the job, and give you the twist at the end. Even if you know what the twist is, you don't see what's coming next. And I think
Okay.
those two men have done a good job of doing that. And don't forget, Denny did The Arrival, and you knew what was like, even though you knew what was coming, it still hurt. Like
Yeah, I'm
it
gonna go
still
with
made you feel.
I'll go with Denny V.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I don't
But yeah,
trust Chris Nolan for me to be able to hear the movie. Sorry.
I'm gonna be honest with you though. Some of that sound that he does a good job with, I think would make a very good underwater movie.
Okay.
And I think that's why I know he's a very um, controversial choice for you, difficult choice for you. But I think the way he handled sound and I know two movies that you do not like sound wise is Tenet
hmm
and um, was it Interstellar?
Yeah, Interstellar wasn't great for me at points.
It wasn't great, but you loved the way. Did you like the way it sounded and the movie itself, the way it looked?
Yeah,
Okay,
I never knock his direction. I like the
yeah,
visual stuff he does.
there was a story for you. You were like the fourth dimension, that kind of thing. But the sound, tenet of sound for you was. But I think the reason why I say Nolan is because Nolan Prestige. I mean, whew, uh, I don't remember if Dunkirk's sound was terrible. Um, I'm trying to think. To me, the Prestige is the one that gets me with the twist and Memento because
hmm
that was his bread. Like people were like the twist and Memento, like oh my gosh. Um, so that's why I said him. Denny, go watch Sicario, and you can't tell me this man can't do the action of the Big Daddies and Little Sisters.
hmm
It's like so, I'm with you on this one. You've convinced me that it could be a movie.
I mean, maybe we combine the two ideas. Like in a perfect world, what if they made the movie and then like, oh, now we're making a prequel TV show to show you
No,
how it all came together.
I got a better idea. Let's piggyback
Okay.
off of your idea. Infinite amount of money. Both men make their own Bioshock
Oh,
movie.
yeah, that'd
They,
be
in
interesting.
other words, they can't see what the other one's doing. You have
Sure.
all the money. You pick kind of like red, kind of like you're picking teams. You
hmm
both get you both sit down. You have a list. You say, okay, who's your lead actor? I picked DiCaprio. I picked Tom Hardy. Okay, who's your and they just go back and forth and they're
Sure.
like, okay, here's $500 million. Go make your film. Don't want to hear anything about it. Don't put any stills out. Don't. The only time we see it, trailer drops. Boom. Let's go.
hmm Interesting. I like that.
I'll be honest with you. How is Elon Musk not doing this? Because I'm telling you right now, if I'm the richest man in the world, fuck Twitter. I'm funding movies and I'm going to space. And I'm like, yo, here's $500 million. Go make my Robotech movie. Like
There we
honestly,
go.
I don't care about self-driving cars. Go make my Robotech movie. Give me my Veritech fighters. Give me my Rick Hunter, my SDF-1, Protoculture, Zentradi. How much money do you need? I'm like
Do you have another game
another game.
for the topic that we're doing tonight?
Oh man, I went
Because now
real
you're going
down.
off into tangents.
Oh man, I literally was like, if I had $1 billion, like what would I do with it? And I was thinking, I would not have bought Twitter. I would have literally funded my own movie studio
That's
and
why I'm
all
the
the
producer to
things.
keep you on track, Anchor.
I was
So let's
like,
get back to the topic at hand.
I literally got mad at Elon Musk all over again. I seriously got mad at him all over again that you bought Twitter when there are so many stories out there. Like, sir, do you realize we don't have a Metal Gear Solid movie or television show? And he bought Twitter. We could
hmm
have had Snake on screen.
I mean, that's not his priority.
But that is his fault. That is his fault.
Okay. Okay.
That is his fault though. I want to kind of go old school, and I think I'm looking at some of the games that I have here now, and there are more games in the room. Uh, uh,
I mean,
and
if you
I'm
don't
gonna.
have one, it's fine.
I do, but I'm trying to like maneuver to get it because I'm trying to reach it.
You could just tell us. You don't have to show it to us. It's not that big a deal. Okay.
Do
Metro
you
Exodus.
do you know the story, like the story behind this or these games? Have
Is
you
that the
played
most
any?
recent Metro or like the
This is
first
the most
Metro?
recent one. This is the most
I've
recent one.
played the first two Metros. I haven't played the Exodus one.
So, kind of piggybacking off of what you said about Bioshock. You wake up in this world that is, um, you wake up in this world that is destroyed. You've maneuvered through it. I would I would wager you change the story a little bit, and but I would follow the story, follow the books to a certain extent, and mix in a little bit of the game about this, and maybe it makes a better like Last of Us TV show. But I
Hmm.
would think the idea of how do you navigate a world in the fall of Russia with all their political intrigue and how they've handled government and how they've handled their citizens, and how does this ragtag group of people survive with the belief that there's a green zone out there. And because there's a part in here where they end up at what they think is salvation, and it
Hmm.
ain't what they thought it was. And
Okay.
so it's I like these games. I love these games. Um, Matter of fact, I kind of want to go back and play this one again. Um, Now that I think about it, um, but the idea of how do you survive in a post-apocalyptic world, believing in the state, and then realizing the state betrayed you,
Hmm.
even though you still wear the colors, you still adhere to a military discipline. How do you handle and carry yourself at the end of the world? And I think that to me is a very interesting. I think that could be something, the trauma of you can't save everybody,
Hmm.
and there are demons, there are creatures out there, but sometimes the worst things in this world ain't the mutated monsters, it's other people. So
Sure.
I think that would be an interesting story. I think it could be a franchise personally. I do think that it probably would make a better show, but I would love for somebody to take a stab at it.
There we go. All right, folks. That's kind of it for us now. In the comments, let us know if there's some other game scripts that you think could be movies, Oscar nominated type movies. Let us know. What got you through the week, man?
I don't know, man. I'm just here.
Man, all right.
um, I,
Fair enough.
I went back and started watching Archer again, and I've been playing. I'm still playing Cyberpunk.
Hmm.
So see, I'm just kind of here. Like I made it. I'm like, ooh, wow, how did I get here? It's Saturday already.
It's Saturday already. All right. I'm still playing Hi-Fi Rush, loving that. I may end up beating that tonight, and if I do, I may start up Age of Empires. I always liked those games, and I always liked the idea of those games, but I never got to play them before. But
Hmm.
Age of Empires is now on Game Pass. Or Age of Empires 2 Remastered is on Game Pass, so I kind of want to play that.
Okay.
Still watching my Peacock stuff with WWE documentaries, and I started watching Puss in Boots because it's now free on Peacock. And everybody keeps talking about, yo, Puss in Boots is like low key really good. So we'll
That's
see.
what I heard. I love the
Yeah,
trailer. The
yeah.
trailer was amazing.
I watched the first 20 minutes, and people are like, yo, this is kind of like Spider Verse has really inspired a lot of people in terms of art styles and how they
Hmm.
animate stuff. And it's just like I could see how this is not that it looks directly like Spider Verse, but in terms of like how things are animated and it's not completely smooth and it's on purpose. Like, oh, I like this. This is cool. It's very colorful. So liking it so far.
Um, yeah, I'm gonna try to watch one of the Oscars, a couple of Oscar movies this month. I don't know if I'll be
Hmm.
able to pull it off, but I'm behind in my movie watching. So like, um, 65 came out, and I was like, I ain't made it in a movie theater. Scream came out, and I'm like, I didn't make it in a movie theater. Creed
Hmm.
3 came out, and I'm like, God damn it! Like, it is the first movie I get to going to be John Wick, if I make it to that.
Right.
So I'm like I'm behind. Like Luther came out, and I still hadn't watched that yet.
I mean, it just came out today though, or
It
yesterday.
came out Friday.
Yeah. All right. Calm down. It's only Saturday.
I usually watch it Thursday night
I mean, you're a
or
dad now.
Friday
Calm
morning.
down.
Man, I almost said something that was gonna be. You know what? If I had the capability, Michael Jordan would have showed up with his favorite tagline, the meme.
Okay.
Yeah, that's because it's Luther, man.
Okay.
My
Okay.
wife doesn't watch scary stuff, and she's like, "Wait a minute, there's a Luther movie?" Because she's like, "Mama, that's a man." I was like, "You right, you right."
Okay, folks. That'll be it for us. I did put up the like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for the people that were here. Had a smaller group tonight, but still a vocal group. So we appreciate you all chatting with us. Tell your
Appreciate you.
friends when we got stuff coming out.
Tell your
We
enemies,
may be
friends.
live. Yeah, we may be live next week. We may be taped. We don't know.
Yeah,
You guys will know when we know, honestly, because we kind of just figure this stuff out as we can.
yeah, man.
Um,
When these kids go to a bedtime that's reasonable, we'll have a schedule.
yeah.
Hey,
But
and
we
also,
appreciate y'all. Hmm.
y'all tell Elon Musk, I want a Robotech movie, man. Spend the millions to give me my Robotech franchise. Bezos, Steve Ballmer, Bill Gates, Daniel Snyder. I don't care who. One of you billionaires,
Uh-huh.
come up off of some of this money so I can see my Robotech movie before I die.
Okay. And with that, we out. Peace.